Well, welcome to the June 21st, 2022 session of Tangerine SDR and Hamsci technical session. My name is Dave, KV0S, and this week I've been working on various things. Got the notification from my office that I have to clean my office for the next fellow coming in the fall semester. So I've been doing some of that. Otherwise, a little bit of radio stuff, but not so much this week. Anyway, next on the list, we have Dan in for XWE. Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you, Dave. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, this week I worked on scripts a little bit, kind of catching up. I hadn't done much with them for like the last month and a half. So there have been a couple of software updates and just kind of generally keeping busy doing stuff around the house. I'm in the process of moving. So that's taken up a lot of my time and effort lately. Back to you, Dave.
Well, fine business. And next on the list is David McGaw, N1HAC. Go ahead, David.
Good evening, everyone. Small group so far. Let's see. I've finished our second Baffin Island receiver, and that's about to get sent off for eventual installation. I'm working on our Korean AGO solar wind power system for human. And then I experienced 78-mile-an-hour winds with 93-mile-an-hour gusts. Whoa. Of course, I was on a train on the top of Mount Washington.
Oh.
Went up the Cog Railway yesterday on Mount Washington, which is, if you don't know, the highest peak in the Northeast, only 6,288 feet, but the worst weather in the world, and they mean it. And we almost didn't get to go to the peak, but it cleared out enough, but then the winds picked up. So we got to the top, but weren't allowed off the train. But I've been to the top before, so I was okay with that. It was an exciting trip. Yes. The last few hundred feet were covered in rime ice. Oh. Below that, looked perfectly fine. Normal spring, summer day. So back to net.
Well, that sounds like an interesting trip. I will comment that this week is the CEDAR conference in Boulder, Colorado. And so right. Nathaniel and some of his students are at that conference. I saw Nathaniel's talking on Thursday when I looked at the schedule. And so that's where some of our people are. I didn't see Hyoman's name on the list, so I don't know if he's there or not. Next on the list, we have James, KG4, DSG. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, you caught me off guard there. Evening, Dave and the group. I'm actually just digging around GitHub looking for something. Not much to report. Weather's back to normal around here, hot and muggy. I'm getting ready for field day this weekend, but other than that, not much going on. And with that, back to the net.
Yes, we're sort of in the same situation in that we had very hot weather last week, hot and humid. And this weekend, it's still hot, but not so humid. But tomorrow, it's going back to hot and humid. So we'll have hot, humid weather through next week. Well, next 2 or 3 weeks, I think, is the way it's going to go. Anyway, next on the list is Jay Schwartz, WB8 SBI. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, good evening, everybody out there. Not last week, excuse me a moment here. Yeah, last week I was at the annual Embedded Systems in Cars conference. It's a leading conference of cybersecurity for automobiles and light trucks. And one of the speakers there informed me of a possible EMI RFI situation that could affect ham radio. In specific, there is a digital communication system between, and this is on heavy truck. So this is on heavy truck and trucks that do both over the road and also in city deliveries. They communicate between the tractor and the trailers, plural trailers, via over their power lines from the cab to the trailer. And there's a Society of Automotive Engineers protocol that governs what they do. Now you think of a trailer, well, what could be on there? Well, it's mainly not only the lights, but also anti-lock braking systems are on the trailers. The thing that which affects us is that these cables, the power cables, are not shielded. So you have a digital signal going over a power line, which is probably 12 volts, and it's radiating. And the grounding systems to solve these, they're multi-point grounds. So as a result, you could have multiple ground loops going back to from the cab all the way back. So you could have one system, one ECU on the trailer, one on each dolly, and another one on the second trailer. So there's three possible sources of radiating signals. And informally, when I've talked to some people here on the local repeaters in the Metro Detroit area, a couple of them said, yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned that because when they pass the truck, they do get interference. Now, it's not just the fact that there's interference being generated. It's also the fact that the Federal Communications Commission has granted them a waiver, has granted the trucking industry a waiver to allow this situation to happen. So even though they're using the correct protocol, it's still, they have a waiver. Now, it's not a high power system. It's not like what the power companies tried to do a few years ago that the ARRL fought successfully against. It's nothing of that magnitude of a signal, but nonetheless, depending upon what system is in use on the vehicle, it could radiate several feet and may be enough to be picked up. So now the solutions, of course, would be to shield the power line. It's a cable. It's just one cable to make it shielded, and to put in single point grounding systems on the trailers. The problem there is cost. The industry is pushing back very significantly against that. And also some of these trailers, they can have easily 20, 30-year lifespans. So even if the industry today was to just say, okay, we're going to voluntarily clean this mess up, we're going to start using shielded cables and putting in signal point ground systems, you have no idea how well those systems are going to be maintained over 20 years. And you've still got trailers that out there on the road that still may be out there for another 20 or 30 years that are ungrounded, that are unshielded. So it's a source of RFI, EMI for us. And to be honest, as I just mentioned, even if that waiver, an FCC waiver were to go away today, we'd still have to deal with this problem 20, 30 years. So that's the major technical news that I have for the crew from this week. 7-3 to everybody. Oh, field day this weekend. CQ contest. Field day, field day, field day. And, it wouldn't be field day if there weren't bugs and at least one person, getting borderline heat stroke or something like that. That's only tradition, but it isn't going to be me.
Yeah.
We're going to have lots of bug stray, and we're going to be comfortable about that. But if worse comes to worse, We are literally right next door to the local fire rescue station.
Oh.
So CQ contest, go for it. By the way, is that conference that Nathaniel's at, is that being broadcast?
I don't know. There was a big program online, but it didn't list any Zoom or video that I could see.
Okay, what conference is this?
It's CEDAR, SEDAR, and it's from the weather service the weather service office in Boulder.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and it's a atmospheric studies group, and lots of students there, which you can see that's what Nathaniel's big on.
Yeah.
And ionosphere and propagation research comes under
Yes.
aeronomy.
Okay.
So,
All right, gang.
Just
7-3.
quickly, Jay,
Yeah.
couldn't the cables between vehicles be twisted?
Yes, that would, because when you have in vehicles these days, all vehicles worldwide have 500 kilobit per second multiple 500 kilobit per second buses running throughout the vehicle through multiple electronic control units. And a high-end car can usually have 50 ECUs on them on 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 different networks running throughout the vehicle. So the auto industry has years of, 20, 30 years of experience of running these high-speed networks throughout the entire vehicle. And the wires there are not shielded. It's twisted pair. And they have specifications for how many twists per inch or twists per foot you need. And they're very successful at it. So they're not only filtering the signal inside the ECU itself, but when it goes out, it's highly filtered.
You'd think they'd know better. And even if it was going down power between the vehicles, between the part, cab to trailer, the power could be twisted, and then it wouldn't radiate so much.
Yeah, well, you're
They know better.
talking about an industry now. Now these vehicles, it's really cost driven.
But twisting doesn't cost anything.
Okay, you're talking about an industry where they're not going to spend the money. It's even more cost sensitive than passenger cars, than the commercial passenger fleet. Literally, time is money. Also, even if they were to implement the best RFI EMI procedures today, you've still got vehicles out there that are 20, 30 years old that are going to be radiating, that are made today, and they're not going to be retrofitted. They're not. That's just a flat out truth. They will not be retrofitted. No one is going to pay for that. It isn't going to happen. So yeah, twisted pair, that is a solution. Is it going to happen? The probability is,
well, I mean, for today, they could twist the power cables. That's not any problem.
They could twist them in manufacturing. They could do that. Again, it's going to take decades before the problem goes away.
Well,
because all these old trailers have to be scrapped.
Well, this must have been retrofitted to those guys.
It's not going to be retrofitted. No one's going to pay for that.
You mean they've been doing this for 30 years?
20, 30 years, yeah.
Oh, and this is the first we've noticed it.
But with all the electronics they have on board, somebody's going to end up with a self-induced crash, and somebody will end up paying for the fix.
Right. Anyway, I just wondered.
Yeah, you're probably right about the self-induced crash, and that has happened when when analog brake systems first got deployed in the 70s and the 80s. I remember it was the height of the CB craze, so you'd have people with lots of power in their cabs. They'd key up on the microphone, and the truck would wipe out. The brakes would lock up immediately and flip the truck. Those things happen.
In other words, they know better.
Some people do. The engineering staffs know better, but the engineering staffs aren't the ones that walk through the door and lay down, $100,000 or $250,000 to buy a rig. They're
Yeah,
not the
but
ones.
it's also the insurance companies when something goes wrong.
You're right. Again, you're speaking in a perfect world. And you're right. In a perfect world, that's what would happen. However,
I think somebody's shaving pennies on a $1 million truck here.
I can only report what the facts on the ground are. I'm not going to attempt to say to justify what these people do. I can only report what they are doing. And this is the reality that we have to live with on the ground today.
The next time I pass a multi trailer truck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, again, how much of the radiation is there, and that's and what the protocol is. I don't know the exact protocol, so I can't tell you how fast the bits are, and I'm not exactly sure of what spectrum, of how much spectrum, what frequency bands they take up. I don't have that information handy. And I talked to a representative of the trucking industry at the conference. They know about it. They're very well aware of the problem.
Just quickly, what is the name of the protocol? Do you know? You can get back to us on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go upstairs, grab my notebook, and I remember writing down. It's a Society of Automotive Engineers specification, and it starts with okay. When the SAE publishes a spec for automotive, they all start with the letter J, Juliet. So it'll be an SAE Juliet specification, a J for Juliet. Let me go upstairs and find out that information. Let me grab my notebook and I'll be back on in a couple minutes.
I'll call on the last 3 people to be on the list here. So next on the list is Jim, K4BSE. Go ahead, Jim.
Good evening, all. Well, it's been a little bit warm down here in the south the last few days, as I guess you know. I got out this morning and still trying to get this all center fed dipoles. I put up a position in the tree like I want it, and that's proved to be something of a challenge. I did make some progress on it this morning. Got a couple of high branches out of the way. I had to shoot over them with a slingshot and then pulled some twine up that I could pull the branches out of the way. Got that done before the heat got to me, but about noon, the heat got to me and drove me in. So I'll try a little bit more in the morning. Meanwhile, I don't know that I'm going to be able to do a whole lot with field day this weekend, I'm afraid. My wife is having shoulder surgery to replace a shoulder on Thursday. And while one of our daughters will be here with her, I'm assuming right now that it's going to be hard for me to get away much this weekend. So that's about it from down here in the Southland. Back to Ned.
Okay. And next on the list is Joe, W7LUX. Go ahead, Joe.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, we're getting ready for field day here and build a couple of potato guns to shoot lines over trees. Somewhat the same problem you're having there, Jim. I've got a slingshot. It didn't work all that well. Been monitoring the grape results, and it's quieted down a bit from what it was a few weeks ago. My traces were all over the place, and right now the daytime trace of WWV is mostly a straight line, and was just a very, very slight downtrend due to, I guess, changes in temperature here and local oscillator, etc. In addition to everything else, we've been fighting a couple of fires. The pipeline fire took off here. Some guy, some tourist, decided to burn his toilet paper, and it got out of hand. And he claims he tried to beat it down with his sleeping bag, but that didn't work. And what started out with a match and a little bit of toilet paper is now something like 23 or 24,000 acres, and not too many structures lost. The really bad thing, though, is that this is the same area as we had a fire a month or so ago, and that one took out a national monument, 30 or 40 structures, and upset a whole bunch of people. So we've got a problem here. Fortunately, in their wisdom, somebody has closed the forest just south of me. I live in a semi-rural development about 7 miles south of Flagstaff, and the wind comes from the southwest, and south of me is a big chunk of forest where people like to go and hang out. People from Phoenix who don't know very much about fires, and they like to have their campfires. So the Forest Service has closed that particular area, which means I'm a little tiny bit better off. Field day Saturday. Well, we've got 50% chance of thunderstorms, so that ought to be a problem. Anyway, more than enough from Flagstaff. Back to you, Dave.
Well, enjoy your summer and hopefully you'll have fewer fires.
Yeah.
And next on the list, we have Tom in 5EG. Go ahead, Tom.
There we go, unmuted. Good evening, Dave, and everyone in the group. From cool and rainy Oregon, we haven't had summer yet, but even without that, it's supposed to be 97 by field day, so we're going to make up for lost ground in a hurry. A couple of questions, Dave. I was looking through the website for the DCC conference, and there's nothing there about registration or call for papers. Is the conference in person still a go, or they're still working on a decision for that? Do you know?
Well, I think we're still working on a decision, but there has not been a lot of traffic on the board list. But the point was brought up, and so far nobody's offered a solution. So the longer we wait, the harder it gets.
Okay, so we'll hang loose on that. Did Scotty get the adapter boards built?
I have not heard anything from Scotty either.
Okay.
So the last time I talked to him or heard from him was on this list, on this meeting. So
very good. Okay, I just had a couple of emails with Kong, and so otherwise it's been a pretty quiet week. So back to the group.
Well, I believe that brings us to the end of the list. I know Dave Witten was traveling from Chicago to Missouri today, so probably didn't make it down to talk on the radio or on the Zoom call. So at this point, we're open for general discussion.
Actually,
Well,
Dave,
I've got those specification numbers.
Yeah, what is that?
Okay. Depending upon the manufacturer, there may be a little different versions here on also the age of the vehicle. So there's multiple specifications here. They are Society of Automotive Engineers specifications as follows: Juliet 1708, Juliet 249er7, Juliet 1939er, Juliet 1587. Now, it was also mentioned that 1708 and 1587 are like RS 485, similar. That was about the most information on the exact specifications that I have. And it's Juliet 249er7 that has the FCC exemption. Now, those
very good.
specifications, those are not the specifications. If you want a copy of them, you have to buy it.
Yep.
SAE does not make them, they do not give them away.
Oh, well. Well, 485, of course, is a twisted pair spec.
Right.
So the
that
waiver
but
one
anything-
sounds like that's the one that's the problem.
Say again, please.
The 2497, which has the waiver, that sounds like that's the one that
Yeah,
is
it's
problematic.
also the spectrum involved. Apparently, they're using from 100 kilohertz to 400 kilohertz. Now, that's assuming a perfect world. That's assuming that
Right.
that everything
Is
was
that
installed
switching rate or
correctly.
edge rate?
Say again.
Switching rate or edge rate?
I don't know. Wasn't
Yeah.
mentioned. Now, that assumes again that it started out working correctly and over the years, and that it was maintained correctly, or that even people know to maintain it or even pay attention to this. Keep in mind, some of these trailers can get 2, 3, 4 million miles on them. And unless there's a reason to go in there and do maintenance on those cables, no one's going to touch them.
Yeah, but if it's running down power cables, they're going to notice if a ground or hot wire opens up.
Yeah, because their lights won't work correctly,
Right.
or their brake systems will not work correctly, and you hope that that's gets a malfunction light in the cab, or that it gets caught at a inspection
Yeah,
station.
interesting. So you think that this has been there for a long time? It isn't a
years.
retrofit,
It's not a retrofit. It's
something they've been doing for years.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, at least it's not in our band, it's harmonics, so maybe it's
Dave?
attenuated.
I got
Yeah.
a question.
Yes.
I noticed this strange anomaly with the Tapper website a couple weeks ago, and I was wondering if you'd seen it. It's very easy to demonstrate if you've got a browser up.
Okay, I can get one. There is some work going on the Tapper website, or upgrades and things. But
So if you bring a browser up
let me bring up.
widescreen, you get what I call a standard menu bar. It says home, shop, membership, Tapper, blah, da, da.
Right.
But if you shrink your browser horizontally, you reach a point, and it's optimized for phones. I understand why it's doing it, but you reach a point where that bar goes away and there's a menu button that pops up in the upper right-hand corner.
Oh, yes.
Well, if you click that menu, you get a list of Tapper DCC Communications Conference topics, but they don't show up on the wide menu. At least I couldn't find them.
Right.
Yeah, they go away.
They go away.
Yeah, when I look at them, they show up down below the list of conferences.
Yes, they are. Those are available.
Well, I know they're there. I'm just saying that in one place they're very obvious, and in another place they disappear.
Okay.
No, they don't disappear. They go down below the list of conferences, scroll way down that list.
Oh, there you go.
If you scroll down the list, you'll see them.
Well, which list are we talking about?
Select
narrow
the menu,
list?
click the menu button,
Right,
and then you'll see a bunch of DCC conference things.
right.
Keep on scrolling down.
Well, yeah. My point is the ones at the top, which are links to the actual, I think it's links to the topics.
Yeah, those.
Yeah, they don't show up on the normal website.
They
Uh,
are somewhere.
Yeah, well, I assume they're there, but they're not easily found.
No, they're not easily found. I know that.
They're there. They're just way down.
You know, you go to oh, which is it? under the Tapper menu, there's a conferences, there's a DCC
It's the library, DCC papers, I think is,
under library.
or
Oh, okay.
conferences DCC.
Yeah. No, it's,
Under, so that's under the Tapper pull down.
yeah, they're under the papers are under the library.
Yes.
And I was looking under DCC. So I just thought it was a strange
Well,
that the menu popped up, which is a good thing because it works on a phone.
yes,
But you're seeing things there that you don't see on the normal page.
I will report that to, I assume Stana is the one that's working on this, or John Ackerman.
Yeah, it actually came up. Somebody was asking me about one of the previous projects. I said, "Oh, I'll look it up," and I couldn't find it.
Yes. This website, we're still figuring out how it works. And
It's on WordPress, right?
yeah, yes.
It is
And-
WordPress.
And we do have some people helping us figure out how to improve it.
Yeah, I'll submit that bug report.
Okay,
Thank you.
I will. Thank you for finding that.
Okay, I'm back. Dave, I'm sorry, you had a last question there, which got interrupted. Please repeat your question.
I assume that was David.
Yeah, David. November
Yeah.
1.
I'm
Hotel
not,
Alpha Charlie.
now I don't really remember. It was just, I just was surprised that this, if you're saying that this particular protocol has been around for 30 years, I'm surprised
don't
this is
know
the
the
first time
exact-
it's coming up.
I don't know the exact age of it, but I'm comfortable saying it's been around a
But,
decade.
oh, we were talking about the frequencies in use, and
Yeah.
you said 100 to 400 kilohertz, which actually almost sounds like I squared C kind of stuff.
I
but,
have, I
There
have
really
no
is a
information.
matter of, it's probably a digital format, not
Oh, yeah.
not baseband or whatever.
Yeah, it is
So-
some kind of a digital format.
So it's the harmonics that would be concerned about. But I guess there must be enough harmonics that people are able to hear it.
Yeah, and it's not a high power system either,
Right.
because it just has to get has to get the information, at most 50, 60 feet down the cable until it would hit the rear of the, well, it depends on where
Yeah.
the ECU is mounted. But if it had a dolly, if it had to go to a second trailer, so it's got to go 50 or 60 feet or so from the cab all the way to the rear of the first trailer, go to the dolly on the at the rear of the first trailer, cross over to the second trailer, and then go another 50 or 60
Yeah.
feet there. So once it crossed over, it's going through a couple of ECUs, so the signal is going to get boosted. But then again, it's not a high power signal. So
Yeah. I'm a little surprised they try to impress that upon a 12-volt power system.
well,
not
and the
easy.
reason being was explained is when this standard first came out, the trucking industry, the users, the consumers, the people that buy these trucks, they did not want to pay for an upgraded cable.
Right.
They just didn't want to pay for it.
But
So
then
it was
they're paying for a high current choke to be able to put
So-
signaling on the line.
So that was the reason that the
I'm not allowed to
consumers,
argue unless you pay.
So the consumers just, it's not like the little old lady from Pasadena is buying this stuff.
Well, I know that, but as I
So-
say, we're talking pennies on $1 million truck here.
I'm not going to, that's the way it is. This
Yeah.
is just the way the
Interesting.
market
Well,
behaves.
we need to know more about that. And as you say, unfortunately, they don't give the spec's not available for free for us to look at.
No, but you can buy it. SAE
great.
will happily sell you any of their specs.
Yeah,
You just
for
have to go to their
$100.
website, sae.org, and you can buy whatever you want.
Yeah, well, how much?
It all depends on the spec. I'm not going to quote prices. I can only say that I am a member of some SAE technical committees. So being a contributor, I get access to the drafts because the working copies, what
Right.
we're actually working on. But once it becomes official and goes to sale, even I can't, as a member of the committee, as an author, as a contributor, I don't get free copies.
Yeah.
Do they distribute them to university libraries?
The library would have to buy it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
You
a
know,
good question.
these specs
Because
are not top secret,
if
but
it,
they are,
Yes.
SAE is very, very, very protective of its intellectual property
right,
and its copyrights,
I
and will
would think universities that teach automotive engineers would
Right.
probably have copies of them.
They
they
would.
may have copies, but if they do, they've purchased them.
Right. But that's the thing about working at a university is you get the benefits of that.
You can try your library.
Yeah.
If university library won't
I don't
hurt.
know if our engineering school would have that, but
Mhm.
possible.
Ours doesn't have a big automotive.
No, ours is biomedical mostly.
Yes.
Well, anyway, that was the big
Yeah.
news
Interesting.
from the Embedded Systems and Cars Conference for SCAR USA. There's
I wonder
also
which,
SCAR Japan and SCAR Europe.
I wonder which car manufacturers use that particular protocol.
Oh, it's across the entire industry.
Well, they
It's
don't
not-
all use it. You say there are multiple protocols.
Yes, but the entire truck industry uses them.
Mhm.
They are not used for passenger vehicles or light trucks. So whatever passenger vehicles you have, sport utility vehicles, pickup truck.
So if you're gonna want to run HF on the New Jersey Turnpike, stay
Yes.
on the cars only side.
Yeah.
No comment.
They have a cars only side.
Yes.
I actually found a local library here in my state that says they've got what they call the SAE Digital Library. Contains
nice.
thousands of full text SAE technical papers and standards. That may
Okay.
be accessible only to the library patrons, though. It may not be
Right.
online.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
But that's
SAE
encouraging.
Yeah,
You might be
it's
able to
probably
find it.
out there in the university system. You could probably
Yeah.
find them.
SAE is very, very public when they say that their intellectual property is their single most valuable asset, and they will do what is necessary to protect that asset. So if they find somebody passing it around for free or whatever, that will get their attention very quickly, and they will do what is necessary to protect that.
Oh, there it is.
That's just the way they are. And there's no getting around that.
Yeah, I just posted a link in the chat if you want to see that. It's Wayne State. It's a college
Oh.
in Ohio.
Oh, yeah, that's in
Yeah.
Detroit.
That's
That's
Detroit.
that's about about 7 or 8 miles due south of me.
Yeah, I know where that is.
It's got a real good engineering school and an excellent, outstanding medical school and school of nursing and school of pharmacy. They're outstanding.
I don't know if it's more widely available or not.
Interesting. That's where Dad went to school, was Wayne.
Huh.
That was a year or two ago, of course.
Yeah, Wayne's been around quite a while.
Looks
It's
like
an
its
excellent-
original was 2002. It was issued in 2002, this particular standard. Power line carrier communications for commercial vehicles.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. $87 if you're curious.
I'm not that curious.
But you can join SAE and get 10% off.
Oh, there you go.
Whatever.
It was interesting, Joe, hear you earlier saying that your grape one data has calmed down a lot. Mine's been very active recently, very active. But I'm further from WWV than you are, and I'm on the other side of it for whatever difference that makes.
Oh, a little bit. The trace for the last few days has been pretty smooth, but boy, a week ago it was all over the place. Week or
Oh
two.
yeah, mine today was all over the place too.
I haven't looked at today's. Perhaps I should do that.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot more activity than I did when I first started taking data a little over a year ago.
It was quiet solar cycle. We're down at the bottom of the
Yeah,
solar cycle.
that's what I assumed it was. And I'm gonna have to get out of here this evening, I'm afraid. We'll see you fine people later.
Okay.
7-3, good luck in the contest.
Yes.
Actually, Dave, I do have another question. Scotty mentioned, I guess the meeting last week that he had the FPGAs in hand. Were those the Mach 10s?
Yes.
That
Yes.
was what I was curious about too.
So he didn't specify.
Oh, no, they
But-
are the
but
Mach
this-
10s. Yes.
Yes, but I think it's the small order of,
It's 25, right?
yes.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
he has them.
Not the
Yeah.
full run. But
But he
that's
has
enough
enough
for
to prototype with.
prototype and test.
Okay. That's what I assumed, but I just wanted to clarify. And I thought, didn't he actually get the other ones too?
I think so. The Arias,
Didn't know how to play for
yes.
them? Okay. I see Jonathan's in there. Is he?
Oh, yeah, he just came in.
Well, Jonathan, do you have any comments?
Hi, everybody. Sorry for joining late. I have two things. The first is I powered up my Trimble Res 720, and I tested the modified or the updated driver that the author of GPST did. It's been working pretty well. The Res 720, it's a pretty cool GPS timing receiver. It is it's a dual band receiver, so it's L1 L5, and it's been working really well so far in the timing application. One of the updates to this version versus the previous model is that you can actually adjust the pulse width. It's not to the same magnitudes as the U-Blocks modules, but you can still adjust the pulse width of the pulse per second signal. So I'm going to be using that in my EBNOT rig. That's my VLF transmitting rig. That's the other update that I have. I received most of the hardware for that, and I'm fitting the Raspberry Pi and the GPS and the sound card in its enclosure. I'm going to be marking some holes and making some holes and putting in the connectors and the mounting everything inside. And then once that's done, I'll get it hooked up and powered up and running. And I could actually test everything. So the next step is to get the GPS module working with NTPD and also working with the sound card, where it would capture a pulse per second signal through the sound card and use that to discipline the phase and frequency of the carrier for the EBNOT transmission mode. So things are moving on pretty well. That's about all I have. Back to the net.
Well, fine business, Jonathan. Thank you. So Jonathan, do you and Nathaniel have plans for field day at his house or with the students from Scranton? I don't know if he heard me. Well, is there any other issues that we need to discuss or?
Well, we'll just look forward to everybody's field day stories next week.
Yes.
Mhm.
So barring hearing anything, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the recording off and end the meeting. 73,
Seven-
guys.
73,
all.
everyone.
7-3, everybody. Good luck in the contest.